Welcome in, everyone. And a quick disclaimer, we are going to be speaking on a case that did end in a fatality, so viewer discretion is advised. December of 2024, Tina Allegio was on her way to work. It was a Monday morning. She and another gentleman, Miel Setskov, got into a cutting each other off thing. This case is a little strange because I do think that we're going to be divided in our thoughts on this one. There's two pieces to this. He bumped into her from behind. She got out of her car and stood outside of his car yelling at him, tried to open his door further down the road. She's claiming that she was trying to get his tag number because he just drove off. But she wasn't behind him. She went to the passenger side of his car, and as she was trying to get it behind him again, which she could have been maybe in an effort to get behind him to get his tag number at that point, she clipped the back of his car. Now he stops in the middle of the road. He gets out of his car, looks at the damage on his vehicle, comes around to her car. We can't hear anything, but what we see is him opening her car door and reaching into her. Then we see him fall to the ground. We're going to watch those pieces in just a minute, but first let me give you a little bit of more detail. She's been granted a $100,000 bond. They said that the whole incident started during a morning rush hour traffic. Different witnesses. There's one witness who says that she was completely at fault and the guy did nothing. He just got shot, which goes against what other witnesses have said and what the video shows. So let's just go ahead and pin him on the board because he's going to be called as a witness. It's hard to tell, you guys. I have to say, though, most people don't get out of their car during road rage. They beep the horn at each other. They flip each other off. They yell obscenities to each other. But to get out of your car, both of these people did get out of their car and come towards one another. So I just feel like this might be a tough one to call. Now, guess who her attorney is? And this is why I know it's going to end up in a stand your ground law because number one, it's in Florida. And number two, the defense attorney is Mark O'Mara, who represented George Zimmerman in the Trayvon Martin shooting. And what was their big defense there? Stand your ground law. It's Mark O'Mara's classic go-to. Regardless of the fact that she hit his car, he opened her car door and he went into her car and was, somebody said hit her. Somebody said grabbing at her. You couldn't tell from the video, but he did physically reach into her car. And then you see him fall. So she has a self-defense claim, in my opinion, on her hands here. So let's watch some of this video footage and then go from there. First, we're going to start with the accident itself. People that were around took a couple of video clips of this. The biggest piece of evidence comes from, I think it was a surveillance camera on a building nearby. This was the first time they had to run in. She gets out of her car. Now, this is the same video. I just enlarged it for everybody. She has something in her hand. Is it her phone? It looks like her phone. Is she videotaping him? Probably. It's hard to tell. He takes off. He doesn't want to talk about it. Okay. I find him to be at fault for that. He should have at least talked to her. He bumped her from behind. They should have called the cops and had an accident report. Okay, now, I'm not saying what she did was right. I'm just saying. All right, now this is the second. Here's where she says she's trying to get his tag number. She was trying to get up beside him. He ignored her. She tries to get his tag number. She just hit the back of his car trying to swerve over like that. Here it is again, but again zoomed in. So she's trying to get up beside him. But she says, I'm just going to grab his tag number because apparently he's not going to stop, right? I see her. I see that. I can totally see that. Okay, now when she went to do that, she hit the back of his car. I don't think she meant to do that. I really don't. Okay, now here's the video where he gets out of his car and he's looking at his damage and he goes back to her car. And the only thing you can see in this video is that he immediately reaches for the door.
And what is that video?
It shows the decedent checking the damage on his vehicle and then proceeding to the driver's side of Miss Algio's vehicle.
Okay,
and
now this is
video.
This is the video from the camera at Satira Wellness, directly to the south where the shooting occurred.
Look in the middle of the screen, you guys, on the road, middle of the screen. It's going to happen right in front of that handicapped style parking sign, but out in the middle of the street going there he is right there. Okay, this is where he's stopped.
Can you play just a second because it does right there.
He gets out. He's looking at his damage.
The dark vehicle facing left or westbound would be the decedent's vehicle.
She's
and
behind
the
him.
vehicle directly behind it would be Miss Algio's vehicle.
And what is happening?
So the decedent is outside of his vehicle. He appears to be inspecting the damage from the collision. Now he's proceeding to open Miss Algio's door.
He opens her door. See how he goes in right after her. Now somebody said he hit her.
And that's when he falls to the ground from the gunshot. Can you play just a second because it does right there. Now he's proceeding to open Miss Algio's door.
He goes straight for her door.
And that's when he falls to the ground from the gunshot.
So what do you guys think? We'll watch this piece right here. This one witness, I don't even know where he was. Like, there's a bus stop, like on this side of the road somewhere, that apparently this guy was, I think that's where he was, because he says he witnessed it. But then there's other people that say that's not what happened. And so you'll see here. So it took him several months to arrest her. I mean, we're in March. This happened, I think the hearing was yesterday, March 7th of 2025. And the incident occurred on December 2nd of 2024. Now, she was originally charged.
Sadly, the call was real, and now the anxiety lingers as they wait to learn if this tragic shooting ends in an arrest or if police determine it's a case of stand your ground.
She was originally charged with a more minor charge. And then after investigating it further.
We were waiting for him. And we'll never get to see him again. And that is absolutely killing my soul.
Daniela Sikova is talking about her brother Michal. She says he was the man killed in a road rage shooting on December 2nd.
He was a kind person who would drop everything to help anyone in need.
Orlando police confirmed what witnesses told us on Monday. Michal got into an argument with another driver leading to the shooting. Daniela says she was working when she heard what happened. She got a voicemail from one of his friends
saying, please call me back, from a friend of his, please call me back. Your brother has been shot and killed. And my initial reaction was, oh my gosh, this is some kind of scam. I have all my hope that this person who took his life so early from us will be brought to justice. I want to have hope in the justice system, and I will wait to see how this will unveil.
It was shocking. I mean, 8:45 in the morning.
Folks who work on Colonial Drive still cannot get over what happened Monday morning. People like Rob Black.
I saw somebody die right in front of me. No more than 100 yards away from where I was at.
It started as a case of road rage that played out in the middle of Colonial Drive during rush hour. Orlando police have confirmed by the time it was over, one person was dead. But that's just about all the information police have released. Witnesses we talked to Monday say the dispute was between a man driving a black Lexus and a woman driving a white Ford Focus, that the man was upset, got out of his car to tell the woman she was getting too close to his car, and that in the end, the woman was the aggressor.
And after seeing this, I'm rethinking all of my reactions now when I'm in traffic. People are way more aggressive now than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
I spoke to the husband of the man killed on the phone. He said they want to keep things private, but that his husband was a very loving man taken too soon.
A woman is now facing charges accused of shooting and killing a man in an apparent case of road rage.
Months after it happened near Primrose and Colonial Drive, Tina Algeo is now in the Orange County Jail without bond. News 6 rushed to get answers following the shooting at that intersection.
Yeah, it's quite a busy spot in East Orlando, right next to 2 bus stops and surrounded by shops and neighborhoods. News 6 reporter Stephanie Rodriguez explains where this case stands.
It was here during the morning rush that the state attorney says Tina Algeo shot and killed a man after hitting his car. The 47-year-old is now facing charges of second-degree murder. It was a traumatic moment that has filled her with anxiety. That's what one woman tells me she's had to live with since Algeo allegedly shot 42-year-old Mikhail Svetkov on December 2nd. The witness I spoke to didn't want to go on camera, but was one of the first people here on scene because she was just 2 cars away. She tells me she was standing over Svetkov as he bled out and Algeo screamed. She told police that she heard Algeo say, "Oh my God, I shot him," and claims Svetkov was punching her and trying to pull her from the car. Algeo told detectives in a statement that she confronted Svetkov after he was tailgating her and bumped into her car. Her statement to authorities says she accidentally hit his car as she followed him to get his license plate information. According to investigators, red light camera footage shows Svetkov opening the door to Algeo's car before he was shot. Last month, she was charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, with her attorney saying the weapon was her car. She was released on bond, but is back in jail after an Orange County grand jury indicted her for second-degree murder on Tuesday. She had her first appearance on that charge on Thursday.
Okay, so just to be clear, this is the same incident they're charging her for. So originally, before the investigation was completed, it charged her with the minor. And then after the investigation was done more thoroughly, then they've gone to the grand jury. Now they've increased the charges. So I just didn't, when I first looked at this, I thought, wait a minute, this is her second issue with road rage? It's not.
Tina Algeo.
The state's request to keep her without bond was granted. State Attorney Monique Worrell said in a statement that this case is of great public importance and needed to be reviewed by a grand jury. She went on to say, quote, "Gun violence stemming from senseless disputes will not be tolerated, and our office will hold those who commit these acts accountable." I spoke with Algeo's attorney on the phone, who tells me they're frustrated with the second-degree murder charge as they believe this was a case of self-defense, and they will be demanding that the videos of the incident be shown at Algeo's next court hearing.
New charges for the woman accused of shooting and killing a man during a road rage argument in Orlando last year.
Nearly 3 months after this deadly bout of road rage, a grand jury of her peers returned an indictment, a second-degree murder charge for Tina Algeo in the shooting death of Mikhail Svetkov. News Mikhail's sister, Daniela Svetkova, has been waiting to hear.
He's not here to see that now, but we're here for him through the end.
Orlando police say the road rage started with a small fender bender. He bumped into the back of her. Cops say she retaliated and used her car as a weapon. And police say that's when he got out of his car and punched her before she shot and killed him.
I will give anything to give him one more hug. Anything. And that I miss him so terribly much.
So give us your analysis here, please. Does the suspect have a self-defense claim?
Yes, she has a self-defense claim because he's tried to enter her car and committing a battery.
Here are 2 mugshots in as many weeks for Algeo. She was booked last week for a battery charge in this case and bonded out. State Attorney Monique Worrell told us in a statement, gun violence stemming from senseless disputes will not be tolerated, and our office will hold those who commit these acts accountable. What would you say to her?
I have absolutely nothing to say to her. You don't destroy just one person's life. You destroy the entire family's life, because we'll spend our lives grieving for him.
And right now, the suspect is in jail without bond.
I talked to
Okay, this is the first guy that this guy right here is the one who I think is giving incorrect information. And this is the one I think is going to get called by the prosecution.
A man who says he witnessed it all, and he says there was a man driving a black Lexus, and he was upset with the woman driving a white car directly behind him because he felt like she was driving too close to his car. Now I'm going to let the witness pick up the story from here.
And when everybody stopped because of the light, this lady in the white car, kept being way too close to his car, and he's got a real nice car or whatever. So he got out of his car and just was like, "Hey, can you watch yourself? You know, you're too close to my car." And he wasn't yelling or nothing, and she started just screaming, you know, like at the top of her, you know, words that she could at him, a bunch of bad words, and next thing you know, she just shoots him.
Why do these people do this? Did he just want to be on the news? Because it completely contradicts what the video shows. It's so weird. I just found that was so weird. But I think his testimony is going to be a problem in court.
It made me sick. I still feel real sick. I visually watched the guy die.
But it left Jeremy not only feeling sick, but left him stunned.
We grew up differently. To me, if someone's having a verbal altercation, there's no reason to ever draw a firearm on them. He didn't physically touch her. He didn't do nothing. There was she was in no harm.
But other witnesses report the complete opposite, that the man was aggressive. Rob says he saw him standing near the woman's car door, about where the front tire is. Then he went down. You just saw him drop.
Yeah, I saw traffic stop. I mean, just normal red light, so I didn't think anything of it. I was watching out the window at the time. I mean, I didn't see her pull a gun, but I just saw him drop like a sack of potatoes.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to watch the video again of the different clips that we have of what occurred. I don't know if this is everything that they have. It's everything they showed at the hearing. Then after we get through watching this, we're going to watch the full hearing together. It's their bond hearing. He probably thought she did it intentionally when she went, but I could see where she was. At first I thought, no, she's lying about trying to get his tag because she was pulling up beside him, but then maybe she pulled up beside him. He wasn't paying attention to her, so then she goes, okay, I'm going to get his tag number, and boom. I could see that fitting her description of what occurred. This is just my opinion, you guys.
We're going to play just a second because it does just right there. All right, so the dark vehicle facing left or westbound would be the decedent's vehicle, and the white vehicle directly behind it would be Ms. Algio's vehicle.
And what is happening?
So the decedent is outside of his vehicle. He appears to be inspecting the damage from the collision. Now he's proceeding to open Ms. Algio's door. And that's when he falls to the ground from the gunshot.
Okay, let's watch this bond hearing now.
Algio, okay. It felt wrong. Thank you.
The victim's family is appearing virtually.
Oh, okay. Okay. See if I can figure out weapons.
And I don't know if it will be a conflict for me to also show videos while we're appearing virtually.
I don't think that we can do both. I think that's the challenge.
Right, so no videos. I'll just bond up.
Okay. Well, you make whatever decision you want to make about that. I don't know which one is more important to you there. I'm sorry, we can't really accommodate both. But let me see It might take a minute. I end up getting to WebEx, so let me see if I can do this. Can we get AV on the phone? Preemptively.
Okay, my colleague is going to try to pull them up on our computers to see if he can have them here, so that way I can show the videos.
To pull up.
They can be on Teams on my laptop, just so they can just.
The only issue is that the only issue with that is that then I can't see what's going on that end. So if they're appearing virtually, we all can see what's going on. If they're just on Teams.
They're not going to testify, they're just here to hear.
Any objection from defense about that? Okay. So as long as everything is, all right. Sorry guys, we only have so much space in the courtroom. I know we have a smaller courtroom. So I need everyone to either find a seat. If there are no seats available, then we'll have to ask some people to wait in the hall, and I apologize. I know it's a smaller space. Right. They're on.
So we're going to bring them in, and then I'll show you the video.
Okay. All right.
How are we doing this?
Okay. We might end up needing AV because this is looking weird. It's doing that again. All right. Give us 1 second. We're going to get AV over here to help because I don't know. Here's your story. Here are 3 copies of your evidence. Here, I don't know. Exhibit 2 and 4. So you can just WebEx. Yeah. They're just so weird. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. And it should. I'm on my personal on the computer. Just can you just over and that?
Sure.
It is not going to work. It's not. It's looking good. Like it's not giving me the option.
Okay. 70 is a boy. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay. Actually, I might have actually figured this out. Fingers crossed. Thank you, ma'am.
This is for this.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a composite?
No, they're 4 separate. Look at that. You're welcome. Thank you so much. All right. Praise the Lord. I think I figured this out. All right. Ms. Royal, who are you expecting? I have Bianca Bolanos. I think that's from O'Mara. Is that correct from your firm?
So, yes.
Okay. And then I have a victim advocate and Ms. Quebec-Coa?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Judge. I think so. Okay. Only because we called them ahead of time, so we can let them know. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Did you officially call the case?
For 2025 CF 1256, the state of Florida versus Tina Algeo, state.
Monique Worrell for the state.
Defense.
Mark, on behalf of my client who's in the jury box on.
All right. I understand that this is a pretrial detention hearing this morning. Are both parties ready to proceed? Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. State, you can call your first witness, who I think is already in the witness stand.
Yes.
Detective Kavanaugh.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you should give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Thank you.
Good morning. Would you please state your name for the record?
Yes, I'm Detective Patrick Kavanaugh of the Atlanta Police Department.
And would you please tell us about your background in law enforcement?
I've been with the Atlanta Police Department for 7 years. Prior to that, I was with the Chattanooga Police Department in Chattanooga, Tennessee for 3 years. I've been with the Homicide Unit for approximately 3 years.
Thank you. Were you dispatched to the 2800 block of East Colonial Drive on December the 2nd, 2024?
Yes, I was.
And why were you dispatched there?
Because we were advised that there was a person who was shot and he was deceased by the time we were called.
Okay. What time did you arrive?
Approximately 0912 hours or 9:12 a.m. Eastern Time.
Okay. And do you know what time the shooting occurred in relation to the time of your arrival?
I believe the call time was 0842 hours or 8:42 Eastern Time.
And where exactly was the shooting?
The shooting occurred just east of the intersection of Primrose and East Colonial Drive.
And what did you find upon your arrival at the scene?
On our arrival, we found 2 vehicles in the westbound traffic lanes, in the number 1 lane, which would be the far left lane, next to the left turn lane. Both vehicles were running. There was a small space between the vehicles. We were also advised that there was a person in custody who had admitted to bystanders to have been the shooter.
And can you please describe the location of the vehicles? And I know that I should have pictures to show you, but we have a little bit of limitations with our technology today. So if you could just describe them for the court.
So we had 2 vehicles, and they were again in the westbound lanes of traffic. So just as you're approaching Primrose on East Colonial, they would have been in the inside lane that goes straight through. And there was approximately 10 or 15 feet between the vehicles. Both were running, both were facing the same direction.
And who did the vehicles belong to?
The first vehicle, the lead vehicle, was driven by the decedent. I believe it actually belonged to his sister, if I recall correctly. And the second vehicle belonged to Miss Algeo.
Okay. And what was the make and model, if you recall, of the 2 vehicles, and then assign them to the individual?
So the lead vehicle, which belonged to the decedent's sister, was a dark Lexus sedan, and the white Ford Focus belonged to Miss Algeo.
And can you describe the location where Mr. Setkoff came to rest after being shot?
He came to rest near the driver's side rear panel of Miss Algeo's vehicle.
Can you describe how the scene had been secured?
Patrol officers had responded. They had secured the scene by creating a perimeter with yellow crime scene tape, which is standard with all homicide investigations.
And were there other officers and fire department, EMS still on the scene?
I believe the fire department had cleared by the time I had arrived, but the officers were on scene.
And can you tell me the name and age of the deceased?
Deceased was Mikhail, I'm sorry with the pronunciation, Mikhail, I want to say Teskarov, and I do not recall his age. He was in his 30s though.
Based on a later autopsy by the medical examiner's office, what was the cause and manner of death of Mikhail Setkoff?
Cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. Manner of death was homicide.
And you said that someone had been detained at the scene. Who was that?
That was Miss Algeo.
And were there several witnesses who had information about Mr. Setkoff's shooting?
Yes, there were.
And did you interview these citizens?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And
Were you informed about how the incident came to be?
Yes.
And would you please describe what you learned?
From witness statements as well as video that we later received, there was an incident approximately a quarter to a half mile before the shooting. Ms. Algeo and the decedent were in rush hour traffic, and they were essentially bumper to bumper. Ms. Algeo had exited the vehicle because she was upset with how the defendant was driving. She was out of her vehicle taking photographs, and the decedent left by pulling into the next lane, and she then followed him, and she followed him to where the vehicles came to rest.
Did you interview a citizen by the name of Ryan Husel?
I did.
Okay. And did Mr. Husel witness the initial altercation between Ms. Algeo and Mr. Setkoff?
He did.
And what did he say about what he saw?
He had video of the incident, and the video he showed Ms. Algeo standing outside of the decedent's vehicle. She appeared to have her phone up as if she was photographing, and as the decedent tried to maneuver his vehicle out, she tried to put her body in the way, essentially to block him in, and he pulled out. And then there was another video taken where Ms. Algeo was behind the decedent's vehicle, then she changed lanes into the center lane, pulled up parallel to his vehicle, and appeared to strike his vehicle with her vehicle, and she then pulled in behind him, the decedent, back into the lane where they came to rest. And then there was a third vehicle that showed the decedent out of his vehicle. It appeared to be checking the damage, and he was beginning to approach Ms. Algeo's vehicle, and that's where that video cut off.
Did you have an opportunity to inspect the vehicles upon your arrival at the scene?
Yes, I did.
And did you notice any damage to Ms. Algeo's vehicle?
I believe there's damage to the left front bumper area, and that would match what we saw in the video that Mr. Husel took.
Okay. And did you see any damage to Mr. Setkoff's vehicle?
Yes, that would have been on the right rear bumper fender area where the impact occurred.
And you said that you viewed Mr. Husel's video that showed the collision between Ms. Algeo and Mr. Setkoff.
That's correct.
And what can you tell us about that collision?
Both vehicles were traveling in the number one lane, so the same lane they came to rest, and that would have been the inside straight lane. Ms. Algeo's vehicle moved from directly behind the decedent's vehicle up into the right lane next to it, and then she is parallel with the decedent's vehicle. Then she strikes the side of the vehicle, the decedent's vehicle with hers, then falls back in behind the decedent's vehicle.
Okay. Did that occurrence appear to be intentional?
Yes, it did.
And were there any charges brought against Ms. Algeo for that occurrence?
I believe the charge brought forth was the aggravated battery with a deadly weapon.
Now, are you familiar with a statement given by Ms. Algeo through her attorney?
Yes, I am.
And in that statement, did she describe what was the beginning of the occurrence between her and Mr. Setkoff?
Yes.
Okay. And what did she describe from that statement?
She stated that she was driving in traffic and the decedent was following her too close, so she initially got out of her vehicle to confront the decedent, presumably verbally. And after the verbal confrontation, was there anything else that she alleged that took place after that? She alleged that the decedent's car made contact with her vehicle.
And did you inspect the area of her vehicle and Mr. Setkoff's vehicle where she said that the contact took place?
Yes, I did.
And was there any evidence of that contact?
No, there wasn't.
And did you obtain electronic data recording from the vehicles?
Yes, we did.
And did that electronic data recording show that any said contact took place?
No, it did not.
Did you have an opportunity to review video from the Sotero Wellness Clinic?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us where that was located in respect to the vehicles?
So the Sotero Wellness Clinic was located on the south side of the roadway, and the cameras that they were equipped with were facing north. So in relation to where the shooting occurred, the camera would have been facing the shooting from the south, so it would have been facing the driver's side of both of these vehicles where they stopped in traffic.
So were you able to see the shooting that took place from the angle of those videos?
We weren't able to see the firearm when it was fired, but we could see the effects of the firearm when the decedent fell to the ground.
And can you describe from the moment that the collision took place, what happened then?
So when the collision took place, the vehicles traveled approximately 180 to 190 feet forward to where they came to rest in the same lane that the decedent's vehicle was in when the collision occurred. When the vehicles came to rest, the decedent exited his vehicle and walked behind it in between the two vehicles and appeared to be inspecting the damage on his vehicle. He then proceeded to the driver's door of Miss Algia's vehicle, opened it, and he appeared to be reaching the vehicle. It's hard to tell based on the clarity of the cameras, but there was approximately 5 to 6 seconds from the door open to the vehicle to when he fell to the ground.
Okay. And you said when he fell to the ground, was that as a result of him being shot?
Yes, it was because he was shot.
Now, did you search Ms. Algio's car?
Yes, we did.
And did you find a handgun?
Yes.
Would you describe the weapon and its location?
A handgun was a Glock 42 semi-automatic handgun, which is chambered in .380 caliber. It was located inside of a Kydex holster, and it was sitting on the passenger side floorboard.
And did the crime scene investigation unit retrieve a shell casing from outside Ms. Algio's car?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And did the crime lab later test fire the bullets from the gun you recovered from Ms. Algio's car?
Yes, they did.
And did the crime lab compare the shell casing to both the unspent bullets and the handgun that you retrieved from Ms. Algio's car and the test fired bullets?
Yes, they did.
And what was their conclusion?
The shell casing found outside of the vehicle at the scene was determined to be fired from the handgun that was found in the vehicle, and the unspent rounds that were in the magazine of the handgun, they were Hornady, and the brand is Hornady, and the spent shell casing was also Hornady, so they appeared to be of the same brand.
Did Ms. Algio request to go to the hospital or have EMS look at her for any injuries?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And did the crime scene unit take photos of Ms. Algio after the shooting?
Yes, they did.
And were there any injuries that were documented as a result of those photos?
I do not believe there were any injuries on her face. I believe there was a bruise on her left arm.
Did Ms. Algio ever call 911?
We never got that call. I know when Detective Ring reviewed the calls, he found that there might have been a dropped call, and they attempted to call her back, but did not get an answer.
Do you recall how many times they attempted to call her back?
I believe it was 4 times they tried to call her back.
And did she ever answer?
No, she did not, because they said it would have been recorded.
When Ms. Algio shot Mr. Setkoff, were there other cars around?
Yes, there were.
In both directions of East Colonial Drive?
It was rush hour traffic, so there were multiple passing cars.
Were there pedestrians on the sidewalks near that location?
Yes, there were.
So if Ms. Algio had fired the weapon and missed, could any of those shots injured or killed other people?
Yes, that would have been possible.
I don't have any further questions at this time.
All right, Cross?
Yes, if I might, Your Honor. Morning, Detective. How you doing?
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good, good. You've been doing this here in Orlando for about 7 years, you said?
That's correct.
And they had previous law enforcement experience?
That's correct.
All right, so I want to go sort of lay some context here. You know what the Second Amendment is, right?
Yes.
The right to bear arms.
Correct.
Some people don't have the right to bear arms, but you know that Ms. Algeo had the right to have that gun that day, correct?
That's correct.
Not a convicted felon. Civil rights were never taken from her. You've looked into that.
To my knowledge, I have not seen a criminal history, but I was never told that she was a prohibited person, so I have no reason to think otherwise.
Well, for example, you would have looked into it because you would have charged her with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
Yes, I will preface, I was the assistant detective on this case. He has not testified yet, only I've been called because...
So you know of no information which would suggest that she didn't have the right to protect herself with that firearm?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you also familiar with Florida Statute 776?
Can you refresh my memory?
Sure. Self-defense immunity statute?
Yes.
Allowing a person to defend themselves and also to defend others?
Yes.
Up to and including the use of deadly force if appropriate. You know that statute?
Yes.
What's the basis for allowing somebody to use deadly force to protect themselves? What do they have to think is going on?
They have to think they're in danger of death or great bodily harm.
Okay. So the investigation that you looked at, including witnesses, other witnesses, suggested and gave sworn testimony that the decedent approached my client's car, correct?
That's correct.
And opened the door, correct?
That's correct.
While it was occupied.
That's correct.
Is that a felony?
I know it's grounds wrong. Yes, it is.
It's a felony, correct?
Yes.
What's the felony that he committed by opening her door?
Burglary of an occupied vehicle.
Burglary. Why would it be burglary?
Because it was an occupied vehicle and we have reason to believe he's going to commit a crime.
The crime was he was beating her up, right?
It would be battery.
Well, you have evidence that he was striking her, correct?
That's correct.
How many times do you have evidence that she was being struck by the decedent before she defended herself?
On video, it appears to be once or twice.
Okay. What did the witnesses say?
I had witnesses that gave higher numbers, but then I also, the same witness said that she could not see the actual contact being made.
Right.
Yeah.
But one witness said she saw 6 to 8 strikes.
That's correct. That's correct.
The video, you said, wasn't all that specific to be able to really show the strikes, though, was it?
That's correct.
Okay. You said that you didn't notice any injuries on my client?
I didn't notice on her face. I noticed a bruise on her arm.
Okay. I think it's been marked as one of the exhibits, composite. Let me just show you if I'm not a personal witness to see if this refreshes your recollection of all special injuries. And for record purposes, this has been identified as D as in dog. Just take a moment to review those pictures, if you would. First of all, can you identify who it is?
It appears to be a client, Ms. Algeo.
Okay. Go ahead and take a look. I think you mentioned as you go through it, I'm going to wait until you go.
I'm sorry,
there's several. I think you mentioned in your testimony you did see a bruise on her arm.
That's correct.
Did she tell you that that bruise came from the decedent?
I did not speak to your client, no, sir.
Well, you have reviewed the witness being presented by the state here to overgo the investigation. So did you talk to the other officers who spoke to her? And did she tell them that she had been struck and that was one of the injuries? I may have spoken over you while you're looking at that. I apologize. Take a moment.
Yes, sir.
The first one, the picture of her face, you see any injury right there on her nose, that red spot on the left side of the nose?
Before we're reviewing too many photos, are those in evidence?
They have been marked, but they have not been entered.
Are you seeking to enter them into evidence?
Yes, I would move to enter them into evidence for today's purposes as composite exhibit of witness of pictures of my client's injuries from that day.
Any objection, State?
Yes, Your Honor, we'd object because I don't know when these pictures were taken. There were photos that were taken of Ms. Algeo when she was taken into OBD custody, and these photos are not those, so I don't know when these photos were taken.
I can lay a better foundation with other witnesses, so we'll come back to that. It's just going to make it more lengthy. And I'm hoping that we'll also have the pictures from OPD before we finish today's hearing, because that would certainly be instructive.
All right. It is a pretrial detention hearing, so the rules of evidence are quite relaxed at this hearing. I'll admit them at this time, but obviously I'll consider any argument as to the authenticity or when the pictures were taken. So those will be admitted as defense one.
Thank you. So looking at, sorry,
I just need the clerk to mark them first.
if I'm not again approved.
Yep, you're good.
First, would you like my copy?
Oh, thank you.
I'm not first witness. Let's go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to stay with the witnesses. I'm not for just a moment to walk through them.
That's fine.
Thank you. Do you see any injuries on my client's face there, particularly the left side of the nose?
Yeah, it appears to be purple on the left side. We're talking right here where we're pointing to?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And it seems as though that's a bruise to the left side of her nostril or nose?
That's correct.
Okay. What, you did not see that day, though, did you?
No, these are not photos that I have had a chance to review.
Of course not.
No.
But do you acknowledge in your years as a detective that bruising of that nature sometimes takes a bit of time to actually show? Do you agree?
So I cannot think of a time where I've done a follow-up because usually when we respond to scenes, we're there immediately. So I have not had follow-up where I've seen bruising the next day that I guess I was looking for the day before. So no, sir.
But just in your training as a detective, the idea of bruising, have you had any experience or education on the fact that bruises come, turn different colors, and then leave?
That's correct.
And there's the bruise on the left side of her nose in this first picture.
There is.
Okay. Consistent with being struck by a fist, a right-handed fist on the left side of her nose.
It'd be hard to say where it came from just based on the size of it.
No. Not that it definitely came from a fist, but was it consistent with somebody striking her in the face with a fist?
Yeah, it could have come from a fist.
Okay, next page. That's the bruise of an arm. Is that what you said that you saw at least some remnants of?
Yeah, I believe that one probably was darker in our photos, actually.
Okay. Next. Perhaps it was healing at this point? Would that be accurate with your view of what you saw versus what you're seeing here?
Yes, perhaps.
Okay. Next, seems to be an injury of the knee. Do you know where that came from?
I'm not sure, no.
Okay. Did you ever talk to her about the injury to her knee when the decedent was on top of her in her car?
No.
Next. Injury to the chest area. Did you talk to her about that?
No, I did not.
Do you see an injury to what would be her left, just above her left breast?
I do not.
You see any discoloration maybe?
I do not, no, sir.
Okay. This is a picture, a full frontal picture of her face. You see injury above her left eye. That would be right. Or either eye. You see injuries there.
It's hard to say. The lighting is very bad in this picture.
Okay. Another picture of the injury to her knee.
Should it say knee?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
See any injuries there as well on the left cheek? See any discoloration?
I'm not seeing it. I see the nose again, but I'm not seeing the area.
Just so the court can review it, it's the second to last page, right, of this composite. Just the second to last page.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes. The last one being a picture of the piece of blood on the, or some blood on the, correct?
This is I would need a further picture in context.
Okay.
Thank you.
We were talking a moment ago about...
I'll trade, since that one's in evidence.
Oh, yes. We were talking a moment ago about 776 and the right to protect yourself, and I think you started by saying that in order to use deadly force, somebody has to have reasonable belief of great bodily injury. Correct?
That's right.
Does getting hit with a fist reach the level of great bodily injury?
Is getting hit with a fist one time? No, it does not.
And according to what opinion?
according to cases that we have prosecuted, that I have not seen a simple battery result in deadly force being a justification.
How about 6 or 8 batteries?
I have not had a case prosecuted with 6 or 8.
So you wouldn't know?
That's correct.
Is it the actual battery or the perception of the possible battery that is relevant to determine whether or not a person is acting in reasonable self-defense?
It's a reasonable person standard is used.
So, what happened after he dragged her out of the car?
I'm sorry, before she got out of the car?
Did he have a chance to drag her out of the car like he was trying to?
He did not extract her from the vehicle, no, sir.
I'm sorry?
He did not extract her from the vehicle.
Why?
Because he was shot.
Right. Should she have waited until he dragged her out?
Again, I'm not the one to make that determination.
You said that this began with my client getting out of the car to say something like, nobody knows, right? She told you what happened, though, when she gave the voluntary statement to her lawyer previously, right?
That's correct.
And she told you that she went out and said, stop tailgating me, with words like that.
So something to that effect, yes, sir. Right? Yes, sir.
And that she may have taken a picture or said she was going to call the police or whatever, right?
That's correct.
And she got back in her car, right?
That's correct.
And she told you that at that point he tapped the car, correct?
That's correct.
Right. Then, of course, you did the ED report and it didn't show a tap. You acknowledge that a tap doesn't necessarily cause any reaction in the EDR, correct? It has to be more significant than a tap, doesn't it?
So the decedent's vehicle was equipped with pedestrian sensors. So when the Florida Highway Patrol conducted an extraction of data, they advised that the tap would have likely triggered the pedestrian sensor.
Actually, they said it might have, didn't they? They didn't say any tap, no matter how light, would set off anything. They just said it might, correct?
Okay.
Is that the report?
Yes.
Is that a significant difference for this court to know as to whether or not the tap may have happened? Offering consistency with my client's statement?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase?
Sure. Isn't the question of whether or not the tap may have happened but not reported by the EDR significant for this court to consider as to my client's straightforward and honest response to the request for information about what happened, and for this court to consider whether or not maybe the decedent did tap her vehicle like she said? Don't you think that's relevant for the court to consider?
Yes.
Okay. And you said also that the decedent turned left to get out to leave the scene, right?
That's correct.
You have witnesses who say he struck her with his car, correct?
Yes.
Why wasn't that brought up a moment ago in your direct examination?
Well, according to the video that I saw, it did not appear that he struck her. It appeared to be she was using her body to block the vehicle in. It didn't appear that this was an intentional trying to run someone over based on the video that I saw.
So you made a determination that with two witnesses telling you that she was struck by the car, that it was not intentional?
Yes, we did.
Could she have perceived it to be intentional?
She could have.
Would you have perceived it to be intentional if I tapped you with my car? Trying to get away from me?
I'm sorry, are we talking about the tap or are we talking about the...
You and me,
okay.
Me taking my car and running into you, tapping you as a law enforcement officer, what would you consider that crime to be?
Based on the video I saw, we did not see a crime that had occurred when she was in front of the vehicle, out of her car, trying to block his vehicle in with her body.
Well, let's talk about that. Do we have that video today, by the way?
I did not bring the video.
But a video may exist that shows that my client may have been hit. You might suggest for the court's consideration today that she was blocking the car, but the video might tell us that he actually moved a moving vehicle weighing 3,000 pounds or more at my client. Would it not?
Again, based on what I saw in the video, I did not see a violation of Florida state statute.
So then she hits his car on his right rear, I think?
That's correct.
With her left front.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Her left front hits his right rear.
That's correct.
How far does it move his car, if at all?
I don't have an exact measurement, but in the video you can visibly see the car shift to the left.
How far?
And I do not have probably a foot.
Okay, as though the tires squealed to the left, or was the car moving at that point?
It was moving.
Okay. They stop, he gets out of the car.
That's correct.
Correct? Looks at the damage.
That's correct.
Do you think, based upon your experience, that her hitting his car justified him committing the burglary of a conveyance and striking her 2 to 6 or 8 times?
Well, again, that's the argument that we debated heavily in the homicide office and with the state attorney's office.
Sorry, yeah.
That's why we came to our conclusion, and that's why we consulted with them.
Right, and the conclusion you came to is we're going to charge you with an aggravated battery because you used her vehicle to strike his vehicle. We know that people in vehicles just like striking the person, so you have her charged with an aggravated battery because she used her vehicle as a weapon.
That's correct.
And that's what you, as law enforcement on the scene, decided she would be charged with.
Well, I believe the state attorney's office brought forward the charge of ag battery with the deadly weapon.
I'm sorry. Actually, you talked to the state attorney's office, and the state attorney's office made the affirmative decision that they were going to charge you with only an aggravated battery for using her car as a weapon. Correct?
That's correct.
And they were not going to charge her with anything having to do with the homicide.
I was not aware of anything going on with the homicide charge until I was asked to testify.
At the grand jury?
That's correct.
One of the people I think you made brief reference to that you interviewed was a Miss Couture. Remember Kimberly Couture?
Can you refresh my memory?
I can, if you don't mind me approaching and let you use the homicide report. Just quickly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Homicide report. Does that help?
Yes, sir.
What she stated?
Yes, sir.
What did she state?
She was driving. She saw the vehicle stop, thought there was a crash, and then she heard the gunshot.
Okay. And did she say she saw? Yeah. Did she say that she saw the strikes, the injuries to my client?
I don't believe. I believe that was a witness that saw the attack.
Mrs. Couture said the male began striking the occupant, my client, 6 to 8 times with a fist.
Okay.
She testified to that.
Okay, so she's, yes, sir.
Okay. So we had one live witness under oath stating my client was struck 6 to 8 times.
Yes, sir.
By the deceased. Was there any evidence whatsoever in your investigation to date that counteracts that?
Yes, the video evidence.
Okay. And the video evidence, as you testified earlier, was not precise, correct?
That's correct.
Well, would you suggest that in times of high stress, that this might be considered for Ms. Couture, that her memory is not maybe the perfect memory?
That's correct.
You have been trained, have you not, that we all act strangely and sometimes inappropriately in times of high stress?
That's correct.
You know, we perceive some threats to be even greater than they might end up having been.
That's correct.
If I come to you with a plastic gun right now, and we're just talking, it's real calm and relaxed, you'll have a moment to notice it's plastic.
That's correct.
But if I come at you fast, you may not.
That's correct.
And you react as though it's a real gun.
And every situation is different.
Right. You always presume it's a real gun, don't you?
I'm sorry?
You're trained to presume that any gun is a real gun that could kill you, right?
If it appears to be a real gun, yes, sir.
Okay. And the same thing with getting struck by somebody. Do you wait to see whether or not you're going to get great bodily injury before you react to the strike?
No, you don't.
You react to what you think may happen, right?
That's correct.
You may stop somebody from dragging you out of a car if they're trying to.
That's correct.
You know that's what she did, right?
That's correct.
Yes, sir. Any redirect? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Detective Kavanaugh, I'm showing you the photographs that were taken when Ms. Algeo was taken to the Orlando Police Department. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you tell me about how long after the incident were those photographs taken?
Within approximately an hour to 2 hours, I believe.
All right. I'd like to admit the photograph at this time, State's Exhibit 1.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, they'll be admitted as State's Exhibit 1.
Now, Detective Kavanaugh, there was bruising on Ms. Algeo's arm.
That's correct.
And is that consistent with her being pulled out of the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you saw photographs that were shown by Mr. O'Mara that show some other bruising. Did you notice any of that bruising on Ms. Algeo at the time these photographs were taken?
No, I did not. I will say I was not present for when the photographs were taken. I only reviewed them after they were taken.
Okay, but they were taken right after the incident, is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, I think these are different than what were, sorry, the ones that you gave me, it's 3 copies of the same photo. Right. And it looks like these are 3 copies of the same photo. Is that the intention? Mr. O'Mara, I'm guessing you have 3 different photos?
Of the same photo.
I have 3 of the same as well.
I want him to be able to review them before he
Let's just take a moment.
readdress the admissibility of those. Yes. So we know. All right. So now that the photos are a little bit different than what you were shown, do you have any objections to these photos coming into?
Again, I think the evidence rules are relaxed. There's still no objection.
All right. So I'll admit these.
All right. Now that we all have different photos that we're looking at.
So I'll put it as a composite of 4 instead of 3. Yeah.
Okay, now that you're looking at all 4 of the photographs.
That's correct.
Those are the photographs that were taken at the Orlando Police Department.
That's correct.
And you
are aware of the fact that there was also a photo taken that had a bruise on her arm at that time.
That's correct.
And that bruise on her arm would have been consistent with her being pulled out of the vehicle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
At this time, I'm going to ask that we cut the feed, unfortunately, of the individual's phone line so that I can show video for the court.
Okay. Let's see. You should be able to hardwire in there support up there. And Ms. Raw, while he's getting all of that connected, is this item admitted into evidence?
I am going to ask to admit into evidence videos, 3 videos from witness Brian Kiesel, 3 videos of the composite tooth, and then 1 video which is the front of Satira Wellness, and that's going to be stage exhibit 3.
Mr. Mayor, any objection to those videos?
So probably not, I just have never seen them. So I just, it's an abbreviated, relaxed atmosphere for a detention hearing. So I'm not trying to get in the way. I'm presuming there's nothing on any of those that would be like truly objectionable as I go through them, but
you haven't seen them yet.
No, but let's just go. Let's put them on, and if I really see
Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to review them if you would like.
I know what they say, but I'm presuming they don't say anything that is just constitutionally impermissible. So that's the only concern I would normally have.
All right. Should you hear anything like that, obviously please stand up and object, and we will address that.
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you need a minute to review those, let me know. I will certainly give you that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I think usually it just. Let me see if I need to do share screen for you. There you go. There you go. Yes. And wait, sorry, which video?
Detective Kavanaugh, I'm going to show you the video we discussed earlier from witness Ryan Kiesel, and
yeah. Sorry, Mr. Wall. Sorry, before it's played, are these all on one disc, just for record purposes for what exhibit number we're talking about and if it's in evidence? So I'll admit the videos into evidence since there's no objection.
Correct. I think that's a OneDrive, which is on the internet, which is not with this. So we'll have to download them onto a disk and get them to you for entry, I guess.
Okay. I mean, we do need to have a hard copy for the clerk, so if somebody can make that for us while we're here today, just before people leave, I need to have a hard copy to have anything admitted. Okay.
what was that we just watched?
That was the first video recorded by Mr. Kiesel. Okay. And that's one where he described that Miss Algeo was outside of the decedent's vehicle.
Okay. And I'm going to play the video one more time.
The fender and mirror of the vehicle.
Okay.
Algio's vehicle striking the decedent's vehicle.
And what is that video?
It shows the decedent checking the damage on his vehicle and then proceeding to the driver's side of Ms. Algio's vehicle.
And this video?
This is the video from the camera at Satira Wellness. It's directly to the south where the shooting occurred.
What are we seeing there?
Can you pause it? Or can you let it play just a second because it does just right there. All right, so the dark vehicle facing left or westbound would be the decedent's vehicle, and the white vehicle directly behind it would be Ms. Algio's vehicle.
And what is happening?
So the decedent is outside of his vehicle. He appears to be inspecting the damage from the collision. Now he's proceeding to open Ms. Algio's door. And that's when he falls to the ground from the gunshot.
It's amazing how if a car had been driving by, that footage would not have been caught. That footage right there could be what keeps this woman out of jail. Isn't that amazing?
Calvin, on how many seconds? All right.
Can we get this down? Can we pull this down off the screen, please?
How many seconds were there from the moment that Mr. Setkoff left his vehicle to the moment that he was shot?
I believe it was less than 20 seconds.
And how many seconds were there from the moment that Ms. Algio's door was opened until the moment he was shot?
I believe it was 5 to 6 seconds.
In the incident that took place prior to the shooting, who got out of their vehicle and started the verbal confrontation?
Ms. Algio.
Okay. And did the video show Ms. Algio being struck with Mr. Setkoff's vehicle?
I don't believe it did.
Okay. And the witnesses testified that they did not believe that Mr. Setkoff was intentionally trying to strike Ms. Algio. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And after that incident, Mr. Setkoff drove off and left that incident. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Algio followed Mr. Setkoff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The video shows Ms. Algio driving up behind Mr. Setkoff.
That's correct.
The videos show Ms. Algio leaving her lane and driving parallel to Mr. Setkoff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If you're on the jury, you guys, would you say she pursued him? She pursued him, and she knew she had a weapon. Apparently, she had it out. I don't know. This is a tough call. I think it's going to split a lot of people down the middle.
And then the video shows her intentionally striking Mr. Setkoff's vehicle with her vehicle.
That's correct.
Okay. And she was charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon as a result of that.
That's correct.
And is aggravated battery with a deadly weapon a forcible felony?
Yes, it is.
Now, Mr. O'Mara asked you if you are familiar with self-defense. and you stated that you were.
Yes.
Is someone who is in the commission of a forcible felony entitled to self-defense as a defense?
No, they're not.
And would you describe Ms. Algio's actions of getting out of her vehicle in rush hour traffic to be aggressive actions?
Yes.
Would you describe Ms. Algio's actions of intentionally ramming her vehicle into Mr. Sefcoff's vehicle to be aggressive actions?
Yes.
And being that Ms. Algio was in the commission of a forcible felony, would Ms. Algio have been entitled to claim self-defense for shooting Mr. Sefcoff?
At this point, I do feel the need to interject an objection because that would be a legal conclusion.
Sustained.
Unqualified.
Okay. Sustained, that's illegal. Okay. Was Ms. Algio in the commission of a forcible felony at the time when this took place?
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Just a few, if I might.
Just on whatever was new that was presented, please.
Just what was new.
Yes, sir.
So, actually, the forcible felony you're talking about is the aggravated battery with the car. What you just testified to, that was complete, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase? Yes.
The aggravated battery was when she struck his vehicle with her vehicle, and then that was complete. She came in behind him, and there was no more forcible felony happening, was there?
There's no forcible felony happening, she was still...
So the suggestion that she doesn't have the right to self-defense because she was involving herself in a forcible felony, the forcible felony was tapping her car, his car, with hers, right? That's what you just answered the question about, wasn't it?
Yes, the forcible felony was aggravated battery with a motor vehicle.
And that was complete at the point she hit his car, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So when he then committed his forcible felony, which is burglary of the conveyance.
Yes.
Was she then prohibited, under your understanding of the statute, to defend herself?
So again...
No, you know what? I asked the same thing that I objected to, and I apologize. I withdraw it. Now, you had some testimony about the timing. 20 seconds outside the car. Would you agree that as he looked at the vehicle, he came back towards my client in an aggressive manner?
I mean, he walked toward the vehicle, so he
walked
fast towards the vehicle, right? Yes, sir. Yep.
If he approached you like that, would you consider it aggressive?
Given the totality of the circumstances, yes.
Right? It was an aggressive approach to her vehicle, right?
That's correct.
And opening the car door, aggressive act?
Yes.
Striking her, aggressive act?
Yes.
Trying to drag her out of the car, aggressive act?
Yes.
It only lasted 5 seconds before she shot him, though, right? That's what you testified to?
That's correct.
What's the number of seconds you're supposed to wait before you shoot somebody when they're striking you and causing what you perceive to be great bodily injury?
Again, there is no rule about how long you have to wait.
It can be a second, can't it?
That's correct.
It can be a quarter of a second if your perception is accurate enough in what you believe is going to happen, right?
That's correct.
Do you have to wait for the first strike?
Again, do you want me to give my legal opinion?
Do you have to wait until you're struck before you react to the perception? I'll withdraw it.
It calls for a legal conclusion. I'm very familiar.
I understand you not understand. Sorry, Your Honor. Sometimes we get caught up in the argument and forget that he's just a witness. You did hear about the witness, Ms. Barrero, though, Ms. Angelica Barrero, right?
Can you refresh my memory on that witness?
Sure, 911 call who said...
Counsel, are we still on the new things that were asked?
No, it was just, it's really just in the... Okay. Because he testified that nobody said, I'm sorry, the state offered the question, nobody thought that the strike of the vehicle to Ms. Algeo was intention. There was a witness who said it was. That's why I'm going over that.
I think you're mischaracterizing.
I don't... You can ask the question. I'm not sure that it's very probative at this point, but you can ask the question.
Ms. Barrero, Angelica Barrero, said in her 911 call that you reviewed that that the decedent intentionally struck Ms. Algeo with the car and then attempted to do it a second time, didn't you?
Again, I would need to be refreshed.
And I realized it's
Sorry, are you sure you have also read the affidavit for the arrest warrant in this case?
never mind. Nothing further, thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. You can step down.
Thank you.
Additional witnesses from the state? No. All right. You have somebody working on that hard copy of the disc so we have it?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's coming right over.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any witnesses from defense?
Yes, if I might just call my client's husband to the stand, if I might, Your Honor.
Sir, you can come on up.
Raise your right hand and be sworn. Please do you swear or affirm that the testimony you should give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
State your name, sir.
My name is Jeffrey Algier.
And how are you related to my client?
I'm her spouse, her husband.
How long have you been married?
We've been married for 6 years, together for 13.
And sorry, really quickly, I'm going to ask parties not stand in that area. So obviously the deputies are fine, but anybody who's not a deputy or court staff, please just find a seat or wait outside. Thank you. Sorry, sir. Sorry, interrupt you. You can continue.
So how long have you known her?
I've known her for 13 years.
And you've been married for 6?
Been married for 6, living together the entire 13 years, though.
All right. And do you know how long she's lived in Central Florida?
Yeah, she's lived in Central Florida since she was 8 years old, I believe.
And I want to focus your attention first on these pictures. You've seen these as we sort of showed them about, have you not?
I have.
Did you take these pictures?
I did.
Okay. Let me have you look at them and tell the court when those pictures were taken and then I'm going to ask you what you were focusing on when taking this photo. So first, when were they taken?
I started taking pictures, I believe, the next day afterwards. The first day I just wanted to get my wife home. And then I continued to take pictures on a daily basis or sub-daily basis continuing forward. These pictures look like they were taken, and I would have to see the time and date stamps to know the exact day, but I did make sure that they were time and date stamped in my phone. They were within a day of the incident.
It began a day and then started, or they continued for a few days?
And then continues for a few days thereafter. I just wanted to document it.
Okay. And do those fairly and accurately depict what they suggest they depict, which are injuries to your wife's face?
May I take a moment to just look at all of them?
So
yes, these are the
freezing to her nose, particularly to the left side of her nostril. Did that show up over time, over the next day or 2 or 3?
Yes, initially her face was swollen, but there was no visible bruising. And then the next day when we woke up, I saw the visible bruising. It continued to progress through the stages of bruising.
Was there anything else that happened to her from the date that she had this event to you taking the pictures? There would have been some independent reason why she had bruising on her face.
No, obviously this is a very traumatic situation, so I just wanted to keep my wife home and safe. So we were just in the home by ourselves.
There's also bruising on her knee. Did that exist before the event out there in Colonial?
No, it did not.
Okay. And then you took pictures showing that injury, correct?
Showing that injury and the progression of it in the weeks following.
And then the other photographs that show injuries to the arm that the state suggested was evident of being pulled out of the car. Did you take those photographs as well?
I did take those photographs.
Again, did they show up more over time and then reside?
Yes.
So we're here today. We're here today to determine whether or not your wife will be released on bond, and if so, how much. And She's already on bond presently for the aggravated battery charge, right?
Correct, which she turned herself in for as soon as we found out about.
Correct. And then where did that money come from?
I had to borrow some of that money from family, and some of it came from myself.
Okay, and that right now she's on bond with a bonds person, correct?
Yes.
So there's a security, but you had to pay about $1,000, I think it was.
That is correct.
So if the judge were to grant a bond that is not so high to be prohibitive that you cannot afford, what type of a bond can you afford to get your wife out?
From what I understand, and I'm a little unfamiliar, but from what I understand, the bond needs about 10%. So around, if we could do something like $25,000, then I could afford $2,500 to go and pay to get my wife home, and obviously keep her at home. You know,
there probably will be other conditions of release were it to be granted. Obviously, don't violate any laws.
Obviously.
There may be a curfew. There may be a limitation where she's limited to Central Florida or even a tighter geographical jurisdiction. You might be required to rat her out if she violates those conditions, if the court imposes them. Are you willing to take that responsibility on?
I personally drove her to the jail to turn herself in for the first charge. I was there when the marshals came for the second charge, and I called her on the phone and had her come outside, and she came out willingly. So yes, absolutely, I would cooperate with law enforcement with anything regarding this situation.
What type of work does she do?
Prior to this, she was a caretaker for a special needs gentleman. She had been working in that job for 2 years. He had very advanced special needs. She went through an extensive background check through the state to get said job.
And that was where she was heading the morning that this happened?
That is where she was on her way to at the morning that this happened. I found out about it from her boss calling me because she was just a little bit late, and that is completely out of character for her to be late at all.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Any cross?
Mr. Algio, so Ms. Algio is not currently employed?
At the moment, no.
And does Ms. Algio have a passport?
No, she does not have a passport. She has actually never left the country.
Okay. And what ties does Ms. Algio have to this community?
A lot of those ties are here in this courtroom, but we do have 3 daughters. We have 3 grandkids, aunts and uncles, family members, friends, neighbors. A neighbor from down the street even came today just to show the ties that she has to the community. And she's tied to me very closely, obviously, as well. And I was born and raised in Orlando. I have no intentions of leaving Orlando for the rest of my life. I mean, except to go visit people and stuff, you know. But, like, I plan on living here forever. I own my home.
Thank you.
All right. Any redirect?
All right. So no other active witnesses, but I would ask that anyone who's in the, if I might, just see, he can.
So you can step down.
Okay.
Thank you. Careful, there's a big step out of there.
We couldn't all fit, but I would ask that anyone who's here to support Ms. Algio just stand up. Don't need to say a word, but I would just like to let you know that this is community support. And I think there are more people outside that we couldn't fit in to show friends, neighbors, family to be here. Thanks. Other than that, no further evidence or witnesses.
All right. Okay. Argument from the state on the motion for pretrial detention?
Yes, and this turned into a mini stand your ground hearing, and that certainly wasn't the state's intention. It's the state's position, though, that Ms. Algio's self-defense claim is not credible. Ms. Algio instigated a road rage incident with Mr. Setkoff, and in the commission of that road rage incident, Ms. Algio intentionally struck Mr. Setkoff's vehicle with her vehicle. After Mr. Setkoff left their initial encounter, she pursued him, struck his vehicle with hers, causing him to jostle within his vehicle as the statute provides, making that a aggravated battery with a motor vehicle, which is a forcible felony. A forcible felony enumerated, which prohibits Ms. Algio from using self-defense as a claim if she's in the commission. Now, during the testimony, Mr. O'Mara pointed out or argued at least, that that was completed. However, it was within 9 seconds of her forcible felony that Mr. Sekoff was then shot by Ms. Algeo, and the state would argue that it had not been completed and it was a continuing act from the moment of the road rage incident that happened previous at the light before, where Ms. Algeo got out of her vehicle and physically placed herself in front of Mr. Sekoff's vehicle, even while he was trying to drive away. This shooting happened in rush hour traffic in the morning. There were vehicles on both east and westbound side of Colonial Drive. There were pedestrians on the street at that time, any of which could have been hit and harmed by Ms. Algeo firing. The question that was asked repeatedly was, how long should Ms. Algeo have waited? And the state's position on that is that Ms. Algeo could have avoided all of this encounter if she would first not have instigated this road rage incident, second, not have committed a forcible felony against Mr. Sekoff, and then third, not laid in wait for whatever the outcome was going to be after she committed a forcible felony. Because of those things, and because of the manner in which this took place, it's the state's position that there aren't any procedures that could be taken to ensure the safety of the community, because a road rage incident could happen at any time. So the state is requesting attention.
Ms. Rawle, does the state concede that at the time that this shooting occurred, that the decedent was in fact committing a life felony, a forcible felony, burglary of a battery with a conveyance therein?
Your Honor, the state doesn't concede that. The state's position is that Ms. Algeo provoked the entire incident, and there's case law under the felony murder statute that discusses the fact that you are not entitled, once you provoke an event, to then claim self-defense, and that Ms. Algeo would have had a duty to retreat in the alternative to her not being able to claim self-defense under the forcible felony that she completed, that she would have had a duty to retreat. She had an opportunity to retreat, and she didn't. So again, this is not the stand your ground hearing. This is for pretrial detention purposes. But the state's position is that Ms. Algeo did not have a claim to self-defense in this instance.
All right. Thank you, State. Mr. O'Meara.
Yes, we will have a true self-defense immunity hearing at some point, I would imagine. And the state did say one thing that I cannot contest, which is that there is an argument that if you're the one, the aggressor or whatever, that you lose the right that you have under 776, that you don't have to retreat. That doesn't have any application here, and here's why. You cannot not retreat when somebody's on top of you in your own car. So this is not a waiver of stand your ground, which means I can move to the side, but I don't have to. I can just shoot you without moving. That's a really basic and poor explanation of what stand your ground is. And you lose that right, you would have to move over, but that has nothing to do with this case. He committed the forcible felony. There was enough time, however short it be, they said 20 seconds, but enough time, and he made the decision, frustrated as he might have been, testosterone-laden as he might have been, to run over to her car, open the door, pummel her, and try and drag her out. That is an aggravated forcible felony because he put her in great reasonable fear of imminent great bodily injury. That's why I asked the question. So what would have happened when he got her out of the car? Oh, I just want your driver's license? No. It was going to continue. And if she didn't have a firearm that the Second Amendment gave her the right to, we would be dealing with probably several felonies against him because he would have continued to pummel her until some bystander said enough is enough. I'm sad that it happened, but it happened because of his actions more than hers. So, for pretrial detention purposes, presumption, great, no, at all. Not only does I think she have a complete legal justification, which would mean we shouldn't even be here, but for your purposes today, the state has not met their burden. And the idea that there's no way to protect the public. Look, anyone who shoots a firearm in the Ninth Circuit, anyone from cops to anywhere, puts the public at risk, sort of. Certainly anyone who shoots somebody because they feel the need to, because under 776 they have the right to, sure, it could go through them and hit somebody. Absolutely. But that's not the standard for detention. The standard for detention under pretrial detention for the threat to the public is she's doing it every other day, right? Or she's done it 8 times before. Or she's just violent. It's the opposite. She's absolutely entitled to a reasonable bond. It should not be a punitive bond with a very, difficult for them to make. Even the $10,000 was difficult. I think the $25,000 suggestion is certainly enough to keep her here with other conditions the court's going to impose, but to allow her out so that I can work with her on this admittedly quite complicated, interesting legal standard case. But I need her out to talk to me, and she needs to be out working, quite honestly, to now afford me and to continue to support the family. He works as well. But there is no reason that this woman should be detained for having protected herself from a forcible felony in the Ninth Circuit.
Thank you all. This is an interesting issue. Having heard the arguments that were presented here, I want to take a few minutes to consider this issue. I will have a written order out for you as soon as I can. But these were some interesting arguments that were presented, and I want to take some time to consider them fully. And I will have a written order for you as soon as possible.
Ms. Strong, thank you for the time. I know it's extra time, but thank you for that.
Thanks for the presentation.
Mark O'Mara is really good. I don't know. I feel like if this goes to court, it's going to be interesting to watch. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's kind of why I wanted to show it today, so that you could all be up to par on it if we do start covering more on it. It is in Florida, so more than likely it will be live streamed. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I am curious of your thoughts on it in comments, because, again, it could go either way. She pursued him. He supposedly, I don't know. Do we have proof that he hit her from behind? I don't know. That's going to be another question. And when he did, and she's trying to talk to him, if he didn't hit her from behind, why would she have gotten out of the car and tried to talk to him? But then again, he was wrong when he drove off from the accident. So I probably, if it were me, I would have gone after him. I would have got his tag number and probably left it at that. But these days, you can't even, you guys, you cannot, we live in a different world. It's amazing. As I was researching this case and I was going through the different news clips and whatnot from it, it's made me decide to go ahead and put another compilation together for you guys of all the other road rage incidents that have occurred. It's amazing how many have occurred in just short periods of time. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys being here with me today. Thank you so much. And I will see you, if not later this evening, I will see you definitely on Monday. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will talk to you very soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and feel free to leave a comment. Have a blessed day.